The question on everyone's mind is, will the Twins look like they did last year, or will they be AL Central champions in 2023? That's what we're going to be talking about today, and why I believe the Twins should make the playoffs as AL Central champions this season. Baseball season is literally right around the corner. Spring training games start this week, so if you are new to the channel, you like the Twins, you like talking baseball, love to have you stick around, subscribe, and leave comments down below. Go back and forth with me if you agree or disagree. So let's talk about this. I believe the Twins will be AL Central 2023 champions, not only because I'm a Twins fan, but because I think the numbers and what they've done this offseason back it up. And on the contrary to that, why I think the Guardians and the White Sox will not be champions because of the lack of moves that they have made and where I think they are headed in 2023. So let's start with why I think the Twins are going to be 2023 champions, because this is probably why you came to this video. They made so many impactful moves. It's not that they just made moves. They have made impactful moves this offseason by bulking up their pitching, of course, by getting guys healthy. I think that is probably the biggest part of it, is that they will have guys who are healthy this season, and they've also made some moves on the defensive side of things by adding in the outfield, of course, adding Solano yesterday. I love that you guys talked about that down in the comments of that video yesterday, so I won't spend too much time on this, but they have roughly 6 or 7 pitchers. They will, at least by the All-Star break, and I would love to say that they're going to be able to contend just on talent until the All-Star break alone, but they will have 7 or so pitchers that could start. They are like major league 3s or 4s at bare minimum, but then you go get like Pablo Lopez, who's at least a 2 or a 3 on most teams. Like, you have a wide range of good talent that the pitchers can use, or that the Twins can use on the pitching side of things this year. So if they can make it to the All-Star break within a shot of the AL Central, you're going to have 7 pitchers available. Plus, on the contrary to that, the Twins have added guys like Kyle Farmer. They have guys, they just got Solano, like I said yesterday. They got Michael A. Taylor and Joey Gallo on the defensive and outfield side of things. They have bulked up a lot. And of course, like I mentioned, Pablo Lopez probably being the biggest pitching addition that they have. They have a good team, right? So take that into consideration. But then, so you've got injuries. Hopefully they don't get injured. They have just an abundance of talent, and they can trade those guys away if they need to, or if they get into a situation. They have 9 outfielders, 7 infielders now. They're going to have a lot of different moving parts. Hopefully to, 1, keep guys healthy, but 2, then to trade if they need to get that playoff winning team. And also, a lot of guys just had very average years last year. I won't, again, go through all of the stats. You can go look it up. A lot of guys are right around that 100 OPS mark. I think that's a pretty good range to evaluate it. A lot of guys are right around average. And the Twins are usually an above average team. I would expect a few guys to be heading in that above average direction. Of course, there might be some guys who slack a little bit, but for the most part, I think you're going to look at a guy like Byron Buxton. Of course, if he can stay healthy, Carlos Correa, they're going to have seasons that were better, or at least on par for what they were last year. And if you get that supporting cast around them to stay healthy as well, they're going to be an above average team. That already gets them into the running, okay? Now let's transition into why I think the Guardians and the White Sox won't. I'm sorry if you are a Kansas City fan or a Detroit fan. I don't think you are there yet. You are making moves. Well, maybe Detroit is. I don't know if Kansas City really is, to be honest. But the only 2 impactful moves that I would say that Cleveland made this offseason, again, if you're a Cleveland fan, if you're a White Sox fan, I love that you're here, but I'm not going to praise your team like I would the Twins. So if I make you mad, I am sorry. But the only 2 really big moves that the Guardians made this offseason was getting Mike Zunino as a free agent and getting Josh Bell for, I believe, 2 years. That's kind of it. And their roster, I think, overperformed last year. Yes, it is a very young roster, don't get me wrong, but I believe it overperformed a lot last year. And let me talk about the White Sox really quickly before I go into more depth there. The White Sox did not make hardly any moves this offseason. The only move I believe they made that was really impactful was Elvis Andrus like 3, 4, 5 days ago. That's about it. Otherwise, both teams have had a very, very quiet offseason. I do believe Cleveland extended Ramirez either at the end of last year or in this offseason, so they do have him as their like big ride or die kind of guy, and he really is good. But other than that, like I said, both teams have a lot of talent, but they didn't add talent like the Twins did. The Twins were already a pretty good team. They were young, but then they added talent with a power bat of Gallo, with a defensive guy of Taylor, with a pitching arm of Pablo Lopez, right? Whereas the Guardians and the White Sox really didn't. And then you look at the numbers, right? I think this is where you really dive into why the Guardians won't repeat. Yes, they had great seasons last year, and yes, they're young, so they could definitely repeat or at least have a good chance of repeating. If they were that good last year, they're going to be this good again. But here are your big top performers, right? Steven Kwan, okay? 300 average, had 124 OPS, pretty good, slugging almost 800 as, a contact hitter who doesn't strike out. Had 6 home runs, 52 RBIs. That's pretty good, right? Then you're led by Jimenez, Gonzalez, and Ahmed Rosario. Okay, those guys are not Jose Ramirez, so Jose hopefully will have a better season if you're a Guardians fan. But those 4 guys are guys you would not expect to be hitting 300, having OPSs of 150, hitting, I guess, 10 to 15 home runs a year, I would say. Maybe that's about average for them, but that is overperforming, in my opinion, there by 4 guys who you wouldn't expect. I don't think they would repeat. I don't see them repeating in that sense where, yeah, Kwan might be a 300 hitter, but, okay, I don't see Gonzalez and Rosario and Jimenez all hitting roughly 300 again. That's a lot for a team. Maybe you can argue with me down about that in the comments, but that's a lot to ask for these really, really young guys who, again, most of them are freshmen, sophomores, maybe a junior in the MLB. That's a tall task to go back-to-back seasons on a team with the AL Central bulking up, especially with the Twins, and I think they have a really good pitching throughout that division on both sides of the ball or on every team. Likewise, I think that the pitching side of things for Cleveland is where they struggled the most, I would say, and where they have the opportunity to get better. If the bats aren't quite there, I think that like Shane Bieber went 13-8 with a 2.88 ERA, right? Like that's good. On the ERA side of things, still lost quite a few games, probably more than you would expect. So maybe there is still that wavering kind of what are these hitters going to do. But he was your best pitcher still on the team. Tristan McKenzie still really good right behind him, but you're going to need those 2 guys to step up again, right? They both had sub-3 ERAs. Are they going to be able to repeat again? And then you go down the list like Quantrill, Plesac, Savall, Connor Plickington. All of those guys had awful seasons. Above 3, almost 4, almost 5 ERAs, right? I don't think they'll be as bad as they were last year, okay? So they have the opportunity to get better as long as Bieber and McKenzie stay about consistent. That's the only way I see them repeating. And really the numbers are pretty much the same on the White Sox side of things. They lost Jose Abreu. That's a big loss. Here's the thing with the White Sox. They were so injured last year. That's really always the problem in baseball is injuries. That's why the Twins weren't as good either. But you have Tim Anderson, Jimenez, Robert, Moncada, all of those guys playing less than 100 games last year, right? That is not a successful organization, right? You're putting together, just piecing together things. So, of course, if they can stay healthy, automatically they're going to be better. But again, your lead guy, Jose Abreu, is gone. Tim Anderson, yeah, he's always going to bat around 300 and hit 6 home runs last year, so he's probably going to do a little bit more next year, of course, if he can stay healthy. Jimenez hit about 300. Maybe that is consistent and repeatable, but Luis Robert has struggled a little bit more so than I think that people thought he would. You're relying a lot on Vaughn, and is Pollock even still there? I don't think so. Maybe he is, and I'm just missing that. Moncada, though, batting .212. I just don't think they're going to be that bad. And on the pitching side of things, your lead guy was Dylan Cease last year, right? 2.20 ERA, great, 14-8 record. So the hitting's still not super great all the time, but Giolito had a 5 ERA last year. Cueto, who's not there anymore, but he was over 3. Lance Lynn was at a 4 ERA. Those guys are not going to have as bad of seasons, right? The only problem is I just don't think it's enough, right? Out of everything that I just stated, they're not going to have as bad of season. They're going to probably average out somewhere along Cleveland and the White Sox. They're going to average out to somewhere between their probably potential and what they did last year. But they just don't have enough, right? They don't have the oomph that the Twins did. And that's why I say that the Twins will, with their additions, be impactful a lot more than the White Sox and the Guardians. Fangraphs, like I said, I was going to mention this. Fangraphs actually predicts that the White Sox will finish third, the Twins will finish second at 82 games, and the Guardians will win the division at 83 games. And that's the last point I want to make here quickly is if it's that close and these teams are that bad, that alone is very surprising that they're only suggesting that the Twins will win 82 games. I think it'll be closer to 88. Like I said, I think the Twins will win the division. I think it'll be close to 88 or 89. The Guardians won 92 games last year. It definitely won't be that high, but you're looking at a team with the Twins that was really, really bad last year. They had a ton of young guys like Miranda and Royce Lewis that had to come up. Even Celestino had to really, shine at moments for most of the early part of the season. That is going to change next year. And hopefully it changes because people are healthy, but it's going to change just because of how much more experience they got last year, right? 82 game mark is so low, and especially if that's only a 1 game off from Cleveland, I just don't see how the Twins repeat as bad as they were last year. I think that's the main point I want to say. I don't think they repeat as bad as they were last year. Even if the Guardians and the White Sox get a little bit better, the Twins are going to make leaps and bounds to be better. They will not suck as bad as they did last year. So that is what I have for you today, kind of breaking down the Guardians and the White Sox a little bit more. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments if you think that the Twins will win the AL Central in 2023. Place your bets, too. I think they're like plus 200 to win the AL Central, so I'm not going to give you betting advice, but it seems like pretty good odds if you watched baseball last year and again, go over the stats from this year. So just throwing that out there. But hope you guys did enjoy the video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.